Good morning and welcome to Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening's Sunday morning service. Whoever you are and wherever you're from, we are glad you're here. You are welcome here, just the way you are. You are wanted here, so open up your heart. Lay all your fears and all your doubts aside. Let go of all the hurt you hold inside. You are welcome here, just the way you are. You are wanted here, so open up your heart. Turn to someone in the comments and say good morning this morning if you would. You feel so led. Can you feel the love of all who gather around? You are worthy of this gift of love right now. You are welcome here, just the way you are. You are wanted here, so open up your heart. Well, who would have known that who you are is enough? And who would have known that you could be so loved? Well, we knew. Now you know. Yes, we know. Now you know. You are welcome here, just the way you are. You are wanted here, so open up your heart. You are welcome here, just the way you are. You are wanted here, so open up your heart. Open your heart and receive the love we have for you this and every morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Reverend Christy Snow, and on behalf of our board and our membership, we just want to say hi. We love you, and we are so glad that you're joining us. We are a beautiful, beloved, diverse community that stretches now, thanks to technology, around this beautiful globe. Whoever you are, we mean that. And wherever you're coming to us from, we include you in this beloved community. And so we come together online every week at 11 a.m. We are also meeting again in person at 10 a.m. currently, every couple of weeks. And that is at the Charlotte Art League as of right now. Some exciting things coming around the first of the year, so stay tuned. But let's take a moment and just take all that love and high energy and excitement of the morning and take it into the breath. Allow the breath to take us into the heart. And just be right here, right now. And just surrendering into that power and presence, that one source of all life, the one by the many names, that no matter what is love. I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. Resting here in the arms of love, I speak this word this morning. I speak my word recognizing my oneness with the one that created all of life. And I speak from the consciousness, from the authority of this absolute union, knowing that I am never separate from this source, that I live and move and have my being expressing uniquely and perfectly as the divine. And so as I rest in this awareness, I rest in this love, and I breathe. And so I speak my word of gratitude for Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening. I speak my word of gratitude for each and every member and friend this morning, coming together like minds across the miles, coming together to continually lift one another up to the truth of our being, to continually remember this truth and live from it, knowing that the joy and the peace and the abundance and the wellness, the connection and the love that we all seek, we all are. And so I pray this prayer this morning, accepting for myself and for each of us this divinity, this truth, this wholeness. And I say yes to moving from that, acting as that, in all my decisions and conversations, to trust that infinite power and presence moving through me, to go before me. And so knowing that I am blessed and a blessing this morning, I know the same is true for each of us, and that together we come together to co-create this experience of Sunday morning service. And so I claim an open heart, a willing heart, and I say yes to love's presence as I fall into this truth. Thank you, God. Thank you. I release these words knowing that I continually allow myself to be led, guided, and directed, and the same is true for each of us. And so with that, we just let it be. We let it be so. And so it is. Surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love.
Hello, CCSA family. Today's reading is from the Daily Alm, and it's about releasing expectations. As we endeavor to find personal fulfillment and realize our individual ideals, we naturally form emotional attachments to those outcomes we hope will come to pass. These expectations can serve as a source of stability, allowing us to draft plans based on our visions of the future, but they can also limit our potential for happiness by blinding us to equally satisfying yet unexpected outcomes. Instead of taking pleasure in the surprising circumstances unfolding around us, we mourn for the anticipation left unfulfilled. When we think of letting go of our expectations, we may find ourselves at the mercy of a small inner voice that admonishes us to strive for specific goals, even if they continually elude us. However, the opposite of expectation is not pessimism. We can retain our optimism and free ourselves from the need to focus on specific probabilities by opening our hearts and minds to a wide variety of possible outcomes. When we expect a situation, event, or confrontation to unfold in a certain way, it becomes more difficult to enjoy the surprises that have the potential to become profound blessings. Likewise, we may feel that we failed to meet our inner objectives because we were unable to bring about the desired results through our choices and actions. Consider, though, that we are all at the mercy of the universal flow, and our best intentions are often thwarted by fate. As you grow increasingly open to unforeseen outcomes, you will be more apt to look for and recognize the positive elements of your new circumstances. This receptivity to the unexpected can serve you well when you are called upon to compromise with others, when your life plans seem to go awry, or when the world moves forward in an unanticipated manner, by granting you the flexibility to see the positive aspects of almost any outcome. The further you distance yourself from your expectations, the more exhilarating your life will become. Though a situation in which you find yourself may not correspond to your initial wants, needs, or goals, ask yourself how you can make the most of it, and then do your best to adapt. Your life's journey will likely take many unpredicted and astonishing twists because you are willing to release your expectations. Thanks and have a great day.
So this morning I'm thinking about giving freely. What is mine to give? And giving it freely. And what does that mean? So of course I think about, parables. I think about the stories of Jesus. And one of the stories, of course, that comes to mind when I think about giving is the loaves and the fishes. And there's a lot of things that can be learned from this parable. Jesus taught a lot of things. First of all, he knew the all-sufficiency, the ever-availability of a limitless, infinite spiritual substance, and didn't put any parameters, any limits on that. But let's break it down. Let's look at a few things. And just in case anyone's watching this morning who's maybe not up on their Bible parables, I'll just kind of recap the story first. So here was Jesus, and he is this master teacher, this rabbi who is living by example, the truth of his sonship, his oneness, his connection with the divine presence, the infinite intelligence, the infinite love, God by whatever name you give it, right? He's one with it. He's living by example, that truth, that possibility, that limitless, nature. So here he is, and he's found himself with a multitude gathering around him. And he's healed the sick, and he's done some things, and now it's getting late in the day. And the disciples say, well, maybe you should send them on away because we're at a remote place and there's nothing to eat here. So maybe you should just send them on away so they can have time to get to where they're going and get some food for themselves tonight. And Jesus is like, no, we'll have enough. We'll have more than enough. And they're like, well, all we have is the 5 loaves and the 2 fish from this boy. And we have like 5,000 people here. How are we going to do that? And Jesus says, tell the people to take a seat. Tell the people to take a seat. And then takes these loaves and fishes, and most of you know the story. He multiplies the loaves and the fishes and feeds everyone, and then says, make sure you get the leftovers because we don't want to waste anything, right? So what can we learn from this story? There's so much. First of all, from his belief in the all-sufficiency and the ever-availability of this limitless spiritual substance, we can learn that, don't be discouraged by appearances, the appearances of lack. And I always like to say, instead of saying you're broke, instead of saying I can't afford it, say maybe that's not the best use of my abundance, all right? But just little things like that can keep you from falling into the trap of believing I'm broke, believing an appearance of a temporary experience of lack. So he didn't believe in an appearance of lack. He wasn't discouraged by that. He did accept the truth of the unlimited spiritual substance. He looked up to heaven, which is really, metaphysically, if we look at that, he's looking up to heaven, is him lifting his consciousness. Lifting his consciousness in gratitude, knowing that what we praise, we raise. So he's lifting his consciousness to a higher state, and he's giving thanks in advance, which he always did, for what was there, even though it couldn't be seen. What's another do we can take away from this? A do. We got some do's and some do nots. So we have some do's. That's do, train yourself. Train yourself to expect and prepare for the best in advance, as he did. He told the people, sit down, relax, and expect to be fed, basically, right? Just chill, relax. Expect to be fed, expect to be taken care of. When we mix thanksgiving and praise, that means thanksgiving and expectancy together, like I said, what we praise, we raise, we amplify. So the next thing is do not. I'm going back and forth from our do's and our do nots. So we do train yourself to expect the best, and do not make light of what you do have, right? Don't make light of what you have. And back to the do's list, do share. You want to share it. You don't want to clog your flow. You want to be in that place of sharing and not clogging. And then do not be confused by the illusion on the senses, on the appearance level. Don't be confused. Don't come down to the level of effect, but rather stay in that higher consciousness. Do keep moving in the direction of your goal. Keep moving in the direction of what it is that you're visualizing, right? Visualize your good. Have faith in it. Spend time in conscious awareness and the presence moving through you. Spend time communing with that divine presence. While being in the visual expectancy of your good, do think big, not just like enough to get by. Release the just enough consciousness. Think big. Think leftovers, right? Think there's going to be plenty, more than enough. Do have faith. Have faith. The little boy had faith, but first, you know what he had? He had fish and he had loaves. He was prepared. So I've always loved this story, but it wasn't until last week when I was visiting with my friend Georgia and we were talking about this story, and she said, well, there's another story there, not just what Jesus was teaching and all the do's and the do nots that I just went through, but also this little boy. He was prepared. He did his work. He showed up prepared. That's one of the biggest lessons that I think is always overlooked. One of the biggest lessons from this story is do your work. Show up prepared. Don't just show up going, okay, whatever happens, happens. Have a goal and be working toward it. Do your spiritual practices, your meditation, your time in nature, your time in silence, your prayer. Do the things that bring you back to that awareness of your sonship, your daughtership, your oneness with the divine, right? Do the work, being prepared. He was prepared, but then he was willing. He had faith to just go, okay, here you go. You can have it. He was prepared, and then he had faith that he'd be taken care of. He didn't discount the small amount that he had. He didn't sell himself short. He saw it was more than enough. I was thinking about this and thought about my little nephew, Dean. He came running by me recently. We were all outside, and he came running by, and he goes, "How big is the sky?" He's like 3, right? "How big is the sky?" And I was like, oh, he's been spending time with Aunt Angie, because that's something that she says a lot. Don't forget you're big as the sky, right? Don't discount the abilities that you have. But most of all, don't discount the co-creation that you are a part of. Don't discount that you are one with this infinite source, that you're capable of doing amazing things. Don't discount it, right? And then be willing to release it. Be prepared, but not clinging to your good, and willing to release how it shows up, giving what you have. Of course, that takes me to another parable of the widow's mite. I always loved that story as a little kid. The widow coming in and giving the 2 mites, which was all she had. That's like 1/8 of a cent. Today would be 1/8 of a penny is a mite, And so I love that story, and yet I want to kind of have a point within a point, and that is not just to give what you have, to share what you feel led to share, but also be careful not to use that like a badge of honor, like, oh, I only had a little, but I gave it all. I gave it all because I've heard so many times being a musician, I've heard people say, well, I'm a starving artist after all, and I only have a little. Sometimes if we're not careful, we can get attached, our ego can get attached to our mite, our little tiny mite. Our ego can get attached to, it's spiritual that I only have a little. That's the point. You're missing the point of the story if that's what you're taking away. What our takeaway from the widow's mite should be that she felt led to give what she had, and she gave it unafraid, knowing that she would be taken care of, but not bragging on the fact that, well, this is all I have. Right? It's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. There's plenty. There's not a prosperity problem in this world. There's a distribution problem in this world. And so being and living and coming from your place of affluence and letting life flow, affluent is to let life flow. Being in that place of affluence is good. It's your God-given right, and it's good for others because it lifts those around you up. How are you going to give to nonprofits that are doing good work in the world? How are you going to help someone who's down on the luck if you are so stuck in the idea that, well, it's spiritual to be, just here with my little 2 mites? Let yourself flourish. Let yourself move out of the just enough consciousness. Let yourself prosper, and let yourself give from that prospering. Let yourself give from that. But also, we want to surrender and be willing to give our good, but we also want to surrender and be willing to give our pain, willing to give our shortcomings, willing to give those things over that are, the places where we could do better, right? We want to give those over as well, and not just, well, I'm giving of my prosperity, so that should be good enough. And we just won't talk about all these other things that where I was mean to this person, or I was short with that person, or I shortchanged this person, or I did, let's give it all over. Let's give it all over to the divine, knowing we're not giving outside of ourselves, we're giving into the power and presence that resides within us. But to do that, we have to commune with it, right? This power and presence that lives within us. For me, it's communing most often is in nature, even if it means I'm bundled up in a sleeping bag sitting outside so that I can be in nature. It's just what works for me. But whatever works for you to really feel that indwelling spirit, that presence that is God the Good by many names. I can think of a bunch of other places where I also have felt like this huge connection. I remember being with Sheikh Kabir and Sheikh Camille up in New York at a retreat that we had up there, a Sufi retreat. And I walked into what used to be this monastery, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It was so palpable, the prayer that had taken place in this place. Right, so I'm not discounting the sacredness of sacred places, right? Some of the mosques that we went to in Turkey, some of the little chapels that I've been into, like at the Franciscan Renewal Center in Arizona. There's just places that come to mind, but there's also, spots on the beach or spots in the mountains. But what's the common denominator? My open heart, my willingness to feel and to commune with that presence. So whatever it is for you, are you spending time being in connection and communion with it? Because otherwise, if you say, what is mine to give? I keep hearing that Karen Drucker song, and I probably are too. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? If you're asking that question of so that you can give freely, but if you're coming from the ego's place, you're stuck. But if you're coming from that, truly living from that connection, that connection to the divine, then you're not searching for it. Then it's natural. It's an outpicturing of who you are when you're coming from that communion with the divine. But too often we can't get to the what is mine to give because we're trying to give from the ego place. We're stuck in that ego place of giving, that ego place of being spiritual even. And what I mean by that is so often we can get trapped in feeling like I got to get to the next retreat or the next class or the next guru or the next experience to really feel that indwelling presence. And it's right here all along. But we can run from it, trying to run to it. There's a story from Rumi's collection of writings called the Mesnavi. And in the Mesnavi, there's this story that he tells of the young man and the young woman. They're courting, and they just want to be alone. They just want to be together. They want to steal away and have their moment. But they can't because the chaperones and the time they lived in, that was just not allowed, for you to be alone with a woman. Until one night, they sneak away in the garden. They find one another, and it's their opportunity, right? To fall into each other's embrace, to be together, to kiss. But instead, the young man pulls out his love letters and begins to read his love letters to her. Instead of really being with her, he reads about all the things that he said about wanting to be with her. Do you follow me? Right? We have to stop reading our love letters to God and be with God. Stop talking about those experiences of the mystic and have a mystical experience. Stop talking about the next workshop, the next class, the next guru, and use the tools that we've learned already. Use the tools you've learned already. It doesn't mean we don't continue to learn and to grow. Of course we do, but be careful not to get in the trap of running, trying to get to God by running to God, and really you're just running away from that divine. So if you need a path back to really feeling connected, really feeling the indwelling presence, give and give freely. Whatever it is, if you want more time, give of your time. If you want more money, give of your money. If you want more love, give of your love. If you want more peace, give of your peace. We be it to see it. We have to be it to see it. And surrendering into that, what is mine to do, what is mine to say, what is mine to share, what is mine to create, and then giving it freely, doing the work to be prepared, to be able to give from that God-centered place, because we did our work, we used the tools that we already have. We put them into practice every single day, did our own work, showed up prepared, and then willingly release, let go, give freely. Rumi was one of the most educated, one of the wisest people of his time. And yet, when he met Shams of Tabriz, he became like a child. Shams said, if you really want to know God, you'll throw all of those books in the fountain and you'll come with me. And so he became like a child, surrendering into the tutelage, right? The mentoring of this nomad for God, this wild man for God, Shams of Tabriz. And Shams said, let us return to a space where there's no dayness in day, no hourness in hours, that the lifelessness of the lifeless might end. What he's talking about is merging, melting, being fully present instead of running to find the next way, being the way. When the lifelessness of the lifeless ends, we can truly live from a connection to the divine, not searching for it. And I know that's speaking out of both sides because we're always searching and yet not. How about we say we're always willing to be led instead of constantly searching? Because the searching, it's not really the searching, it's the being led. That's what we want to be. I used to think it was a badge of honor to say I'm a seeker. No, how about just a be-er? I'm a being. I'm being led. I'm being led, and I'm being at one with the divine. And once we are constantly living from that place, steeped in oneness with the one, then knowing and acting on the question, what is mine to give, just becomes who you are. Giving freely just becomes who you are. You're not holding on so tightly to your time, holding on so tightly to your peace, holding on so tightly to your money, holding on so tightly to your love that you can't let it flow. Trust. Be in that space of knowing that the all-sufficiency and the ever-availability of the infinite spiritual substance is there. It is yours by divine birthright. Don't be discouraged by appearances. Act on the truth of that spiritual substance, knowing that as we lift our consciousness to a higher idea and we mix that with gratitude, there's always more and more and more good being amplified through us. So train yourself to expect that good, to prepare for it. Sit down, he said. Tell them to sit down, to relax and prepare to be fed. Can we just sit down and relax and prepare to be fed? Knowing that's not inaction, that is God in action. When we sit and we commune and we open and we expect and we allow, because from that place we get the action we're supposed to do and we're not just running. Allow yourself to keep moving toward the goal. Keep visualizing your good. Keep visualizing and having faith in it. Spend time in the consciousness of it. Feel that presence moving through you. And then show up prepared and willing. Saying, what is mine to do? What is mine to give? I give it freely to the world. And in that, you're never exhausted. You're never depleted because you're in the flow of divine good. And so it is. Kids, we see you, we hear you, we appreciate you, and we love you just the way that you are. Divine love, moving through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, for the good in my life. And so let us breathe into the energy of gratitude together and into that question that I'm sure you've all been singing as I've been talking this morning, and that is the Karen Drucker chant, what is mine to give? Sing along with me. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. Asking this question, what is mine to give? What is mine to do? I open my heart and my mind and I allow myself to be led, guided, and directed to answer that question. And I say thank you, God, for this willingness to live from a state of giving. I say thank you, God, for each and every person giving back to the Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening as a way of giving back to the divine. I know in our giving we are also receiving, that there is a reciprocity, a giving and a receiving at every moment. And so I claim a blessing for each and every person dancing in that dance of reciprocity. And I know that a blessing is poured out so great that it is more than we can hold. And so we just allow that fluid nature of the divine to flow through us, out from us and back again. And so I say thank you, God. Thank you to each and every person, for each and every person, saying yes to the flow of life, saying yes to flowing with us in beloved community, saying yes to flowing and giving our widow's mite, giving what is ours to give, knowing that as we give it, it increases, it multiplies to overflowing. And so I give of my time. I give of my talent. I give of my treasure, and I give freely. And I say thank you, God, for all that is given back to me. Thank you, God. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. Thank you, God, for the good in my life. Yes, yes, yes. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. Let's claim some peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. I'd like to thank everyone that came out to the farm last week. We had a wonderful picnic on the snow farm. And it was fun to have you in person with me, around me, singing the song. So we look forward to being together each and every time we can. And in the meantime, thank you so much for being together with us online. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We love you, we bless you, and we thank you. Have a fantastic week, y'all.